Way back in 2004 at E3, Nintendo first showed the world the original DS. With it, there were many tech demos on display to showcase what their new handheld was capable of. Along with games like Super Mario 64 x 4 was a game developed in-house called Still Diver. For many years, Nintendo never fully developed Still Diver, as Shigeru Miyamoto himself said that something was missing that the DS could not provide itself. Well, 7 years later, and Still Diver was finally released for the 3DS as a launch title in North America, and over a month later in Europe and Japan. Has the wait been worth it? Does the 3DS provide what Still Diver was missing? And how many submarine puns can I fit into this review without you realising? Well, let's see. The game is split into 3 different modes: Missions, Periscope Strike and Still Commander. As you'd imagine, missions are the main bulk of the game, where you guide one of 3 submarines from point A to point B, through a linear maze of hazards. Notice that I said guide the submarine. Yes, you are in control, but it's not a simple arcade style face button affair. Everything is controlled via the control deck style touchscreen. It really makes you feel detached from the game at times, as the controls aren't instant, but have a slight delay between when you move the slider and when something happens. There are 2 main sliders, one for ascending and diving, the other for accelerating forward and reversing. The 3 different types of subs vary in how they handle, the smallest being the easiest to control but with less firepower, the largest being the polar opposite, and the medium size being, well, somewhere in the middle. Something that can be praised is how it looks. While nothing spectacular, there's heaps of detail in the back and foreground. From sunken ships, ancient ruins and underwater volcanoes, it's all very pleasing to the eye. Even subtle touches like shoals of fish that swim around your sub instantly scarper once you fire for a torpedo. Turn the 3D on and it's like looking into a real fish tank. There's a brilliant sense of depth that doesn't truly add to the gameplay, nor does it make a big song and dance and shove objects into the screen, and it's better for it. The horizon sits far away on the 2.5D plane that makes the background objects come to life. This is not a laid-back experience like, say, Endless Ocean. Even though its slow-paced gameplay will turn many people off, you have to watch every movement you make, in case you encounter mines, other subs, or the worst of all, walls. You'll be crashing a lot. The game is slow enough as it is. Taking your time to steady yourself is painful. Plus you'll be in time, so there's a sense of urgency to steam through it as quickly as possible, which will result in you crashing, getting blown up, and then crashing some more. You can avoid incoming missiles by holding the masker button, but it reduces air. Lose all your air and it's back to the start for you, because, you know, your crew need air. You can refill your air meter by emerging from the depths of the deep water, which also miraculously repairs any damages as well, which is a bit strange. If you do get hit by any enemy torpedoes or mines, you may have to plug the hole by tapping the leak on the touchscreen, which is incredibly annoying as it temporarily disables your controls until it's plugged. When you finish the level, you go into periscope mode with a harsh time limit to take out as many enemy ships as possible. This is by far the most enjoyable part of Still Diver, as you have to physically rotate your 3DS in 360 degrees. It makes the best use of swivel chairs since, I don't know, swivel chair races from boring offices. You have to judge the distance of the ships and the speed of your torpedo and try to land a couple of hits or one critical hit to sink them. This in turn works surprisingly well in 3D to judge the distance of the ships, and seeing as you're moving with the 3DS, the 3D rarely becomes obscured. You can also use the touchscreen if you're playing it on the train, for example, but it's 1,000 leagues less satisfying. I'm just doing it here for recording purposes. With every sunken ship you gain a decal for your sub, collect enough of the same type and you earn that upgrade, which can be increased damage resistance, faster torpedoes, or even the ability to see enemy subs on the map, but you can't assign multiple decals. As I mentioned earlier, periscope mode can also be accessed on the main menu, which has 3 different levels. These don't have a time limit but instead require you to sink all the ships in the quickest time for a high score, but having only 3 levels means it's stupidly short-lived, even if it is pretty fun. So with the main game's limited amount of levels, only taking between 10 to 15 minutes each, it just leaves one more mode, Still Commander. It's like Battleships meets Advance Wars, and if that sounds interesting to you, then prepare to be disappointed. It has a similar strategy element of Advance Wars, but with all the guessing and luck of battleships. Not knowing where the enemy are and guessing just isn't fun. The idea is to destroy the enemy's supply ship to win, by going to the other side of the map with your submarine. Only the submarine can attack directly, so if that's destroyed then you lose anyway. They say the best form of defence is attack, but that just gets you screwed over here. You can use the sub's sonar to detect the enemy, but it takes up a turn, giving them the chance to move out of your range. The ships can defend themselves as well, but you're given a choice of deploying the explosive charge at 3 different depths, with the sub trying to avoid them by going in a different depth. It's more guessing and luck that just makes this mode the most worthless. Yes, there are other maps to unlock, but the gameplay is too dull and frustrating to even care. Just play one of the 4 brilliant Advance Wars games if this is your thing. Don't bother with this subpar imitator. As of more recent years, Nintendo have released games with less actual content and things to do. This is apparent with their sometimes casual approach for a wider audience. Games like Wii Sports and Pilot Wings Resort are light on content, but the core gameplay, while simple, is addictively engaging and above all, easy to pick up and play for all ages to enjoy. Still Diver is none of the above, except that it is also light on content. It's not overly enjoyable, it's not easy to pick up and play, which in turn has alienated itself with a target audience of about 3 people. Even the sound's great, with the constant fire, fire, fire every time you launch your torpedo. The music is fitting to the slow-paced but equally urgent nature, but everything else about the lackluster package is frustratingly underwhelming. It's worth the rent at best, especially now that the 3DS is picking up pace and more essential games are out. Still Diver comes out rusty after 7 long years under the radar with a small blip and then slowly sinks into oblivion. 6 out of 10.